learning a foreign language at your respective schools as a second language. So before we proceed, let me just ask you a very simple question, which is the next slide. Sir, if you can help me, I think it's not going. Okay. So how many of you think that it is important to learn a foreign language? So we have a poll on the left hand side. I would request our moderators to kindly activate that so that we can have a reply from our dear students that how many of them think that foreign language is important. If you really think it's important, please answer it as yes. If you think no, please put it no, or you're not very sure about it, you can put maybe, or you have absolutely no idea about it, you can put I don't know. So can we have a poll, sir?
I have initiated, ma'am.
Okay.
So
How much
we
time
have.
can we give them? Yeah.
So here are the results.
So what does the result shows us, sir?
It's 81% says yes, 9% says no, and 9% says I don't know.
Okay, so 80% of you agree that language is important for us. So that makes my life easier. If we are on the same page and we both agree that one of us agree, I mean 80% of us agree, and let's see if the other 20% says by the end of this presentation. Okay, let me move forward. Sir, can you help me in moving this next slide? Because when I open this, my next slide doesn't go off. I know why.
You can come to the slide only.
Yeah, then I'll just operate the slide then. Yeah, that is better.
Yeah. So F5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
So you all will agree with me that today, as the world is becoming increasingly globalized and interconnected and interdependent, your proficiency in other languages can definitely be a vital skill and can lead you to prepare and compete and succeed in today's global economy. So what do you think is the most important thing when you learn a foreign language? You know, how can you define the importance of a foreign language? Of course, one is about the career thing, which we will come upon to that, and we're going to discuss that in detail. But the first and the foremost thing, which I think is that foreign language helps you to connect better. One of the most rewarding aspects of the human experience is our ability to connect with others, isn't it? So being able to communicate with someone in his or her language can be actually an incredible gift. So today I'm speaking in English, and I'm sure most of you would be able to understand and comprehend what I'm saying. But today I go to Japan and I give the same lecture in the same language. Do you think the response is going to be the same? Of course not, because their language is Japanese and they will not be able to connect with me. So if I have the ability to speak the same thing in Japanese in front of the Japanese audience, I'm sure I'm able to connect and associate with them much better. The first important thing is that you are able to connect with the audience better. Second point is, of course, it gives you an advancement in your career. And as I told you, we have a lot of things, a lot of opportunities which language people can avail after learning, doing your bachelor's and master's in a foreign language, which I'll come to it and explain you each and every category in detail. But definitely, language skill gives you a significant competitive advantage that sets you apart from your monolingual peers. So people who speak one language and people who are bilingual, of course, the employment opportunities definitely increases for them. So employers who are seeking professionals who can communicate seamlessly, with customers in the new and expanding overseas market, as well as, serve and sell large foreign-born population here at home. So definitely, whatever your career aspirations are, with language skills added to it, you can definitely be ahead of the crowd. right? So my second point says that definitely it helps you in the advancement of your career. Third, third says feed your brain. Nobody understand, but feed your brain. Feed means what? Feed means food. Yeah, we can say it as food for a brain. Now, there are a lot of scientific researches which has been done on this matter. People say that, of course, learning a foreign language is not an easy task. It is not that you one day you think that I'm going to learn a foreign language and quickly you will get it. No, it requires a lot of mental exercise, a lot of practice. That's why there have been a lot of researches which has been done to find the differentiation between the monolinguals and the bilinguals and the multilinguals or the polyglots. Polyglots are, if you're not aware, polyglots are the people who can speak more than 4 to 5 languages. So when this exercise was done and the results came out as a multilingual person has definitely improved memory. They have a better problem solving and a better critical thinking skills. They are able to do multitasking much better as compared to their monolingual friends, and they display a greater signs of creativity and flexibility. So definitely when you learn a foreign language, it definitely helps your brain to become much more sharper. So if nothing else, learn a language to make your brain smarter and sharper. Yeah. The fourth point we have is it deepens your connection to other cultures. Now, when you learn a foreign language, you do not learn only a language. Language comes as a whole package. So when I say language, it is not in isolation. You learn it with a complete package of the understanding of its culture, of its history, of its geography, of all the traditions, the customs, art, literature, and many more. So language is actually the most direct connection to learn the other culture. And when you do that, you actually build appreciation for other cultures. So there are studies that shows that if you study another language at a very young age, you become more open towards and more expressive, more positive. You get a more positive attitudes towards the different. So basically, when you start doing that at an early age, your power of empathy, of tolerance, or of acceptance of other cultures also increases many folds. So it definitely helps you to connect with other cultures. And my dear friends, not only other culture, once you learn a language, it better you are in a position to better understand your own language and own culture. It somehow plays a reverse psychology. So for example, if I ask you today that we all speak English, so what is the language pattern which we use in English? What is the sentence structure which we use in English? और हम सब हिंदी बोलते हैं. So if we say हिंदी, हिंदी में हम कौन सा sentence structure use करते हैं? You may not be knowing the answer because we have been adapted to this language since starting. Right? But once you start learning a foreign language, you start gaining a perspective to your own language. Like when I started Korean, so I got to know, right, Korean adapts a pattern of subject, object, and verb. So I say, 저는 사과를 먹습니다, which is like, मैं सेब खाती हूँ. So it is absolutely same as Hindi. So I put the subject first, then I put the object, and then I put the verb. Now you think about English. Now how do we say that in English? We say, I eat an apple. So where your subject comes first, and then comes your verb, and then comes your object. So the structure completely changes. It becomes SVO, which is your subject, verb, and object. So you start actually relating your own language once you start learning a new language. So you definitely better understand your own native tongue and your own culture much better. When you're learning something about the culture of a different country, you will definitely get back to, oh, हमारी country में कैसा होता है? How does it happen in our own language or in our own country? What is the custom or what is the culture in our own country? So you start retrospecting that. So definitely you would better understand your own language and your own culture. Not only that, I'll give you one example. When I was in Korea doing my master's, doing my higher studies from there, so anything which used to happen in India, I used to feel responsible for it. Why? Because I was staying in a campus where I had 40 foreigners who went along with me in the same batch. So I was representing India there. So I felt so responsible. Anything good happening, anything bad happening in India, I am answerable to them. So once you are staying in India, of course you don't bother. But once you are in a group of foreigners, of course that responsibility comes on your shoulders. Right? So you would better understand your own culture, your own language. They had a case of Nirbhaya Khan. Now people were actually asking that how does it happen in India? Notice the judicial action which is going to be taken. Maybe staying here we may not bother too much, but there you're answerable to such every question, right? So you feel more responsible towards it. That's why it is said. It not only deepens your connection with other cultures, but you also better understand your own culture. And once you do that, it boosts your confidence. Now, when I say boost your confidence, what do I mean? I mean that when you learn a foreign language, it is quite obvious that you're gonna work in a global environment, right? You would be dealing with foreigners. You may be in abroad or in your own country. So definitely your exposure towards the globe opens up, your horizons opens up. That is why once you learn a foreign language, it definitely boost your confidence, isn't it? Then, of course, travel becomes easier. There is no denial in that, needless to say. So suppose if you're going to France and you know French language, things becomes much easier for you. You are in a capacity of negotiate better because you know the language. You can save on time, you can save on money, you can save a lot of things. So definitely if you understand the language of the country you're visiting, your travel, your stay, everything becomes much easier. And most importantly, I would say you gain a perspective towards life. Now, what do I mean by that? Saying that, when you explore, as I told you, a new culture or a new language, you naturally draw comparisons to what is the most familiar to you, right? So learning about another culture sheds light on aspects of your own culture, be it both positive and negative, right? So we may not have which previously considered about those factors. So you may find a greater appreciation for what you have, or it might, shake you up. These things needs to be changed for your own country. So you gain a very wide perspective towards life. So apart from your job opportunities, these are all the good things which learning a foreign language does to you. I hope I'm able to communicate what I'm intending to say. Next topic for us is what you have come here for. That what are the career opportunities which a foreign language expert holds in future, right? You must be aware of being a translator. Now, what do you understand by when I say translator? Translator is a person who translates the text. It is the written text, right? So it can be a technical text. If you are working with the corporate industries, you might get some technical text to translate. Maybe you can do beautiful literature pieces. So all those things comes under the translation part. Now, translator is one job which is convenient as you can do it from your own place. You can do it as a freelancer. You may not. There might be a lot of people, a lot of maybe ladies and the girls out there who do not wish to do a 9 to 6 job, and they want to work as per their convenience. So this is one job, one skill of yours which will always be handier to you. So you can always work as a translator at your own speed, at your ways. And generally how translation is done is how you're paid for your translation work is most of the languages pay you as per the word you translate, right? So you get a text, you may get a book to translate. So as per the words which you translate, you are paid for it, right? So you may have a question that today we have a lot of translation tools available. We have a Google translator, we have other machine tools. Then why do we need a job for a translator? But my dear friends, let me tell you, a machine translation can never ever replace a human translation, because translation is just not literally translating the text. When you're translating a story, when you're translating an important piece of literature, it involves a lot of sense, emotion, which needs to be translated well, to be adapted, to be received by the reader. So, translator job is important and it cannot be replaced by the machines. Okay, so that's one option which you have to work as a translator. You can work with some companies, you can work at your own pace, at your homes, up to you. Second option we have for you is to work as an interpreter. Now, what is the difference between a translator and an interpreter? Now, I'm sure most of you would be knowing translation is done for the text, interpretation is done verbally between two people. So you are switching verb between the source language and the target language by speaking. So imagine you are an interpreter to Mr. Modi, and you are a Chinese language expert. You go to China and get to talk. Whatever Modi ji is saying, you have to interpret that to the audience out there, right? How important is that task? Now, you make a small blunder, a small mistake, it can lead to the devastation of the two countries. Right? Imagine if you are doing an interpretation job for two MNCs, right? There's some joint venture going on where they need help of an interpreter. You go and you bluff up with numbers there. It can lead to a disaster. So interpretation job needs a lot of precision. So you have to be really accurate with your language. It's a highly paid job. The remuneration which you get out of a job of interpreter is marvelous. So a lot of companies hire interpreters, or government jobs you have the position of interpreters. But of course, being an interpreter is a very responsible job, because you do not have the pace of time. It is on the spot you are interpreting. Like for translation work, you have your space of time. You are sitting and doing it. You can relate to your dictionaries, the other tests, and do a proper translation. But at the time of interpretation, you are doing it there and then. So the precision has to be at its best, right? Then we have a lot of jobs in the international sales and marketing. So there are sales positions which are always open for the multilingual job seekers, right? With your language skills, you can become a persuasive salesperson, negotiating deals between the cross-border businesses. And your ability to speak a foreign language could definitely open the doors to the careers in export and import sectors of the international sales and marketing. So if you wish to have your career in international sales and marketing, you can definitely opt for a foreign language. The fourth one I have here is academics, is what I am doing right now. So if you want to build up your future in academics, so there are certain requirements to be a language professor or a teacher or a lecturer. So minimum for lecturers, what you require is your master's degree in the same language, plus you have your UGC net exams which you need to clear, and then of course PhD is an additional qualification which is required now for being a professor, right? So if you intend to go into academics, into offer foreign language, you would have to go through all the stages of doing your bachelor's and master's, followed by PhDs, right? So we have a travel and hospitality industry, a very lucrative industry, which has a lot of demand for foreign language speaking professionals. Now imagine you're working for a hotel, and say you're a hotel manager of some big hotel which has a lot of Japanese guests coming in. Now they come in and you receive them in Japanese, in their style, giving them the food which they want, and understanding what they're saying and helping them out with other things. How good home feel would they get once they come to India? So in hospitality industry, of course, they require a lot of language professionals, be it as working as a hotel manager or a tour guide. Tour guide is a very noble profession if you take it seriously. Now, it is a very important profession, I would say. Why so? Because when you are a tour guide, you have the responsibility of showing the guests your own India, right? When they are coming here, they're visiting different locations here in India, and you are the window to them, right? So we're going to tell them about India is what they're going to receive, and this is what they're going to take them back to their own countries and tell others. So you have a very important role being a tour guide, right? So, and of course it is a very lucrative one, because you get good money, you get a lot of tips once you work as a tour guide, right? Of course it comes with a lot of responsibility. Then in hospitality and tourism sector, we have other areas like airlines who require language professionals. You have people in ground staff and flight attendants who would all require foreign language experts, right? Then we have a lot of jobs in embassies, right? Now embassies, definitely there are certain areas like support officers and administrative officers, maybe somewhere in logistics or customer executive, where they require language professionals. So you can also seek jobs in embassies, and embassies definitely pay well, right? And for an embassy is definitely something to cherish about. So this is another sector which you can explore. Then comes the brand specialist. Now, huge companies like Google, Microsoft, they are always recruiting brand specialists who are capable of communicating in foreign markets to assess the company clients and customers. Now, it is definitely to provide improved services from the company's products and services which they have. So, and they usually pay big, and they have, there's something you can do conveniently. The good thing is that as a brand specialist, you can do this from anywhere. So you can also explore a field of being a brand specialist. Next I have is intelligence operative or government agencies. Now, believe me, whether people like it or not, this is something all nations do, and is one of the areas national government spends a fortune on, right? So with your multilingual skills, you can work as an intelligent officer in a research and analysis wing, with a lot of jobs which comes as a in raw for the language specialist, or you can be a supportive linguistic staff or a translator for a government office. So these are government jobs which are available for language specialists. Then definitely you have jobs in international organizations. Now, of course, UN is one large organization with many agencies that operate all across the world. Then you have places like WHO, UNESCO, ILO, UNICEF, WTO, World Trade Organization, which require language specialists, and you can definitely become a potential employee in one of these prestigious international organizations. Next I have is a recruiter or a human resource. Now the human resource department is one that will always attract jobs in all companies, and that includes a catch for people with skills in the foreign languages. Now as companies and their sources of business are increasingly going global by each passing day, they are also looking for workers all around the world. Now, say companies, they need recruiters who will be able to interact with the employees and recruit the most suitable for the job required. So there are many Indian companies from different parts of the world who hire recruiters with language skills. Now, of course, thanks to the rapid outsourcing in India, there are tons of jobs in KPOs and BPOs and call centers, which is always a new opportunity for the language specialists. Then we have a field of research analyst or a field researcher. Now, you understand the meaning of research analyst? A research analyst is a person who is responsible for researching, analyzing, interpreting, and also the one who prepares investigative reports related to the field they work in, maybe in-house or for the client use. Now, being a research analyst, you need to be an expert in, of course, that particular sector, a particular area. Now, as more and more multinational corporations are coming to India, the opportunities in research analytics for language learners is definitely growing at an unprecedented rate. The most businesses rely on data about the market, about the customers to remain competitive, and thus the requirement of the research analyst is always in high demand and one of the most desirable jobs. Right? So this is coming up in a very big way in India's market now. Then you always have an option to work as a language corporate trainer. The people who have a knack for teaching, not only do not actually want to be a full-time professors, they can work as language corporate trainers. Now, what does that mean? So a corporate trainer of a foreign language is definitely a high-paying job, but there are a lot of companies, who have their global footprints, and they look for trainers who can impart the foreign language skills to their employees. Right, so as a result, you have skilled language trainers who are required in every such sector, with the multinational sector, who wish to train their own people in that particular language. Then you also have an option to teach abroad, as an ESL teacher. Now, when I say ESL, do you understand the meaning of ESL teacher? ESL teacher is a teacher who's, teach English as a second language. So English teachers work with the non-native to help students learn, speak, read, and write English. Now, imagine you speak nearly native French, you're an expert in French language and you have a degree in English too. You can find a job in one of those, 32 francophone countries who speak French language as an ESL teacher. What you need here is you need a degree in English, you need a proficiency in, of course, the native language, which will be their French, right, and a relevant experience. So this is also a very lucrative profession, people who wish to teach English going abroad. So these are all the opportunities which you have in foreign languages. I hope I'm able to convey, right? Now, definitely, when I say you need to learn a language, every language has some skills which you need to adapt. Right? Whether you're learning Hindi or English, there are some skills which you learn. Now, because Hindi comes to you automatically, right? Once a kid is born, you actually do not know the grammar of Hindi. He automatically picks it up from the environment. So what is the first thing which he does? He listens. He listens what is going around. He picks up those words and then starts speaking the word, right? And then comes the part of reading and then the writing. So for any language learning, you have a skill setup of LSRW, that is listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Where your listening and speaking come as oracy, and reading and writing skills comes as literacy. So for any language to learn, you need to have expertise in all these four sectors, right? Now, to assess your language skills globally, there are some set standards. I teach you Korean here. Maybe some other Japanese teacher will teach Korean in his or her own way in Japan. Now, how do we assess that globally is very important, right? So we have some international standard bodies who have created some standards for each and every language. For example, for European language, we have a Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, which is called as CEFR. Now, there is a standard set for languages that you have to clear a basic, then an intermediate level, and then a proficiency level. The basic levels again has two parts, which is beginners, elementary, then intermediate, and upper intermediate, and advanced, and then mastery. So this is how all the European languages have set their patterns. So there are exams which are conducted on global basis, which you would have to appear, and it is well recognized all across the globe. So they are just going to ask you that you belong to which level. So you say, I am a C1. That means, of course, you are at the advanced level of the language, right? So you need to have certification. Of course, you have a certification from the university which you are learning. Plus, this gives you a global standard when you appear for such assessments. So this is for European languages, you have your CEFR. For Asian languages, we have different assessments bodies. Like for Japanese, we have JLPT, which is Japanese Language Proficiency Test, where you have 5 levels. It starts from N1, which starts from N5 to N1. So N1 is the highest level which you achieve in Japanese language. Similarly, when it comes to Korean, you have an exam of TOPIK. TOPIK is your test of proficiency in Korean. Again, this has 4 levels. Beginners level has 2 levels, 1 and 2, then 3 and 4 for intermediate, and 5 and 6 for advanced level. Right? So, of course, if you are at the 5 and 6 level, that means you are already a proficient in Korean language. Similarly, Chinese also has 6 levels, starting from 1 to 6. So these are the global assessment patterns which are well accepted all across the globe. So I would suggest, if you get into a foreign language, apart from the degrees which you get from the university, do appear for these global assessments, because then you are rated globally, and then there is no stopping for you for anywhere you apply if you have these global assessments with you. Clear? Now, let me tell you, what do we teach at Amity University, Haryana? Now, our founder president, sir, has a beautiful vision of teaching foreign language to all the students. Now, what they have done is, of course, we have our honors courses separately, but our founder president has made it mandatory that anyone who gets admission in Amity University can learn a foreign language and has to opt for a foreign language free of cost. There are no extra charges for learning this foreign language. It is a part of your curriculum. But you get to learn a language free of cost from the university at a certain level. Now, the only difference, of course, I would say, if you're thinking in terms of career building in foreign language, then only doing it as a value added course might not be sufficient, because of course we have, when you do it as a value added, we have limited teaching hours, right? So we intend that you achieve the intermediary level, but once you do your honors courses with us, then you achieve your mastery level. Presently, we have honors courses in 3 languages. We have it in French, German, and Spanish. So French is the first we started, and then we added on to German. So this year our first batch of German is going to pass out, and then next year we added Spanish, and I think the coming year we'll have first batch passing out. And this year we are also planning to have our honors in Korean, and going ahead, I'm sure we're going to add on all the languages as the honors courses as well, right? So I would suggest that if you wish to build up your career in foreign languages, go for the honors courses, and you always have an option of learning a foreign language as a value added once you come to Amity. Okay. Now, before I move to the language-specific career opportunities and telling you about the language-specific options you have, let me have a small quiz. Sir, can we have the quiz on, please? Sachin, sir? Hello? Sachin, sir? Just a second. Let me just reach to our moderator, sir. Sir, we need the quiz on. Okay. But then I have to get, my screen is working. That's a problem. 1 second. 1 second. So I have 4 questions. Okay. So does anything open when I do a start poll? But there's nothing coming when I do a start poll. There's nothing coming when I do a start poll. Actually. So are you connected? Can you see it? I guess there's some error in the some technical issue from the moderator side. So he'll get back to us with the quiz. We have prepared a short quiz for all of you, just to understand your knowledge about the different countries and the languages. Some 4-5 questions. So right now sir is not there. So let me just go ahead, and once he's back, we'll just put up that for you. Okay, now let us come to the language-specific opportunities which we have for all of you. Now, first is French. French, of course, is a global language. It's the only language after English which is taught in every country. Right? It's an official tongue of 32 francophone countries. If you wish to target countries like France, Belgium, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Quebec, North and Central Africa, then of course you should aim for a language of French. It is very, very dominant in the economies of pharmaceuticals, aeronautics, telecommunications, energy productions. Then, of course, as you know, France is the tourist destination. It has the largest tourists coming in around the world. So, of course, if you want to build up your career in tourism, then also you can think of doing French language. And definitely, if you wish to, go in for fashion industry, of course, then you know that Paris is the fashion capital of the world, right? There are various French companies which are already there established in India, like Capgemini, Saint-Gobain, your Schneider, your Renault, right? So there are so many companies who are already established and have their bases in India. So they all require language specific people. And in fact, a lot of KPOs and the BPOs, we have our people placed in, Concentrix, Amazon, Accenture. All these people also require French knowing people. So I'm sure many of you would be learning the languages at your school, at your respective schools. How many of you have opted for this French language, if I may ask? Can you write and answer me? Can someone write and tell me if he or she is doing any foreign language? You can are you able to write and share it with me? There is that Q&A, right? Okay. Okay, I have some set of questions. Okay, a lot of people are doing French. Of course, that's one thing, because French is a language which is taught in most of the schools. So even when we have our students coming in, they say, ma'am, we know French and we want to continue with French. Good. But I would say that you must explore to other languages as well. Why? I will tell you the reason in some time. Okay, let me just go ahead with it first. Then this is about French. About German language, of course, you must be knowing that German is the most widely spoken language in Europe, right? And it is the official language of Germany, of Austria, of Switzerland, of Liechtenstein, of Belgium, Luxembourg. These are the countries who have German as their official language. So, by the students, if you have interest towards, online marketing or internet, if you want to do business and internet, make your career there, or get into automobile industry, then German is the language for you, because there are a lot of German automobile companies all across the world, and they have their bases in India as well. You have your Audi, Mercedes-Benz, right, BMW, and you have companies like Bosch. You have airlines like Lufthansa, your Schwarzkopf, or your hair beauty companies. So there are a lot of German companies who have established their base out in India. So if you wish to get into those companies, you may apply for German. Then Spanish is one of the three most widely spoken languages in the world, after Mandarin and English. Of course, Mandarin, I hope you understand, it's a Chinese language, right? This is the most widely spoken language. And because, of course, considering China's population, so if you see the number, the Mandarin comes at the number 1, and then comes English, and after that it is Spanish. So it's an official language of 20 Spanish countries worldwide. So mostly the countries of South and Central America, they speak Spanish language. And the majority of your BPOs and KPOs, they come from the United States, where Spanish is the most dominant language after English. Right? A lot of Indian companies have their base out in Latin America, like Aditya Birla Group, TCS, and many other Indian companies. They have opened their centers and acquired companies all across the Latin America. And then, of course, we have a lot of Spanish companies out here in India as well. You have a lot of energy-driven companies like Gamesa, Iberdrola, Isolix, and your fashion industry. Of course, I'm sure most of the girls would be knowing these brands like Mango, Zara, Massimo Dutti. These all are Spanish brands which are available across the world. Then the next target language we have here is Russian. Now, Russian comes under Eurasia. Now, if you anyways intend to have your career in defense, right? Defense people require Russian language people a lot. Then, of course, when it comes to the medical tourism, we have a lot of people from the areas of Kazakhstan, the areas of Uzbekistan who speak Russian. These people come to India for their treatment because the treatment out in India is cheaper and better. So the medical tourism, of course, is gaining a lot of popularity in India, and this is one belt of people who, come to India for their treatment. So we have a lot of Russian language requirement in the hospital sectors, right? So Russian language, if you ever plan, of course we have a lot of KPOs and BPOs and Navy and defense, and of course medical tourism and international companies, who deal with Russian. And Japanese, I'm sure you know about it, that Japan and India have a very, very strong diplomatic relationship. Metro is one beautiful example in front of you of their cooperation, like India and Japan's cooperation. We have around 1,400, I think, the companies of Japanese companies have the bases in India, and we have very soon a Japanese industrial belt which is coming around the area of Nimrana, which is very near to our university in Manesar. So they are, planning to set up 11 industrial townships in India. So Japan is investing in India is a huge way. So definitely the opportunities for Japanese professionals are going to be huge. We have companies like Honda, Sony, Panasonic, Hitachi, Mitsubishi, Toshiba, Canon, many, many more who have already set up their base out in India. Right? Then we come to Korean. Now, Korean, of course, you know about the SEPA, which is the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which has been signed between both the countries. We have 500 plus Korean companies who have made considerable direct investments in India, and apart from the big conglomerates, Korean conglomerates here like LG, Samsung, Hyundai, we have 400 plus small medium enterprises who are operating in India, and they are also setting up a huge base. India and Korea has signed up a joint agreement recently between the quota, the trade partners of both the countries, and they're establishing a lot of SMEs out here in India. Then I'm sure you must be knowing about the Korean wave, which is going very, very popular, especially amongst the young crowd like you, the school kids. They are too much into Hallyu, which is the Korean wave, in Korean dramas and Korean songs, which are getting a lot of popularity. So Korean language is gaining a lot of popularity these days. So if you wish, you can definitely opt for this as one of your choice for your Korean language or for your foreign language. Then Chinese, of course, is a widely spoken language in the world, and this has the second largest economy, and is currently the largest trading partner of India. We have a lot of companies from China who have their base here. You know about Xiaomi, MI, Oppo, Vivo, OnePlus, Lenovo. All these companies are already have their good base out here in India. So when I talk about these countries, I intend to tell you that, of course, these are the companies which are available, and who require foreign language experts, plus the areas which they are dealing into. So if you wish to have your career into any of these languages, please consider these presentations and see where your interest level lies. These are some beautiful saying about the languages. That is, I really personally like the last one, which says that you can never understand one language until you understand at least two. So you definitely, you need to be bilingual to understand your own first language well, right? And of course, the limit of my language means the limit of my world. So the world is open for you. You can definitely go and opt for whichever foreign language you wish for, right? And when we teach languages, of course, as I told you, we do not only teach language. With language comes the culture. With language comes the history, the geography, the art, the cuisine. Everything is a part of the foreign language learning. So in Amity, we have a lot of opportunities for our students to get into the culture of that particular language which they are learning, get into that feel of that country and perform. Very recently we had Korean Day Cultural Day celebration, where we invited our ambassador. We had people from Korean corporates. We had a lot of people, Korean native people coming in and participating, and of course our students were the ones who presented a beautiful show up there, doing Korean dances, dramas, music, singing, and not only for Korean language, for all languages we do have such. Give me a second, just a second. So this is what I was telling you about the lot of opportunities which we give to our people. Our students here at Amity. Now we do not have much of time. I think we have only 10 minutes left. So let me just first ask you guys, what questions do you have? What queries do you have? Let me just resolve that first, and then let's see if we have some time. Then I'll let you know about a few more things about Amity. Okay, the first question which I received here is that, ma'am, I want to pursue psychology. So along with it, which foreign language should I learn from Amity? Okay, good. If you want to pursue psychology, now of course, then you should aim for languages. Which are, if you wish to do your masters, say from foreign country, you do your bachelor's from here and you do your masters from other countries, then countries like the European countries, where I say France and Germany, they have a lot of psychology specialist courses out there. So maybe you can think of those in those lines, because if I'll tell you a basic difference between doing a European language and an Asian language. Now, European language is something which you have been, doing from your school time. So there are a lot of people who already know a bit of French and would like to pursue their career in French. But because we have these languages in school, the amount of people already knowing the language is high. So it is a game of supply and demand, because the supply is too much, of course, the demand of this language is less. Demand in the sense, of course, the pay scale is lesser when it compares, you compare it to the Asian languages. Now, Asian languages still now are not there in school. People are not aware of Asian languages much, and somehow there is a perception in the students that Asian languages are tough. And one reason for that can be that you feel, because it looks different, because it doesn't look like English, you feel this is very difficult. But that's not true. Every language, if you see, would have some pluses and some minuses. Some languages would be tough in pronunciation, some would be easier. Like French is definitely tough when it comes to pronunciation, right? Some languages would be easier on the grammar, some language would be easier on the pronunciation, some language would be easier on the contextual terms. So every language would have a plus and minus. When I talk about Asian languages, it doesn't mean that those are tough languages, right? It is just the basic thing which you need to learn, the basic alphabets which you need to learn, and then it might be easier. Now, still, there's a rise in the Asian languages because the supply is still less. We do not have a lot of institutes still. Right now in schools, we do not have, for say, Korean language, we do not have much of Chinese and Japanese language too. So of course, because we have less of supply, we still do not have a lot of professionals around, in India who are expert in these languages. So of course, the demand is a little higher if you compare that with the European languages. Yes, any other question? What can I do after doing BA in French? I'm sure you would be, getting the answer by now, because I've opened that slide in front of you where, there are a lot of options. Now, if you, of course, there are a lot of people, I would suggest you, who do their graduation in a particular language and then they do an MBA. So that's a very good combination, because that gives you an edge over your peers. A normal MBA, would not have this skill of being a bilingual. So of course, if you do if you do not want your career into academics, if you wish, then you would have to go for your masters and your PhDs in the same language. But if you wish to get into corporates or in other sectors, then in sales and marketing, I showed you the second slide of mine, which showed you a lot of career opportunities, had international sales and marketing, had exports, had the trade jobs. All those jobs you can do if you have if you additionally have an MBA degree with it. Then of course, nothing like it. It can be really, really helpful. Any other question? Please feel free to ask. If you have any questions, please come up with that. Okay, one second. Okay, how should we start my language? Like, should get a certification course, then diploma or BA? Now, it definitely depends on what you intend to do. You want to build up your career in your languages, then I would suggest you that you go for a bachelor's course, because then your arena opens too much. Now, lot of these companies also gives you scholarships for doing your masters. So if you have your bachelor's in a particular language, you can actually do your master's from that particular country and get a lot of expertise, right, in that particular field which you wish for. Like in my case also, I did my graduation from here, and I was lucky enough to get a scholarship and do masters from Korea. So such options get open with you when you do a graduation course in a language, because then you are also open to appear for these examinations where you can do your higher studies abroad. Okay, any other question? We have language. French is completely new for me. Will I be able to? Of course. There's nothing which you cannot do. Why do you think that you'll not be able to learn? So if you have, if you've thought of it, you will definitely be able to. That's what I'm saying. Every language would have some pluses and minuses. Some can be a little bit tough on the pronunciation, but of course, if you give your 100%, I am sure there's no stop to it. Okay, now next question which I have is, I'll be doing MSc in food and nutrition. Which language will be beneficial? Of course, I would suggest here then if you are specific on to do your food and nutrition, then you may think of French language, because we have the cuisine industry is completely different in France, and it is definitely coming up in a big way. So if you are aiming for food and nutrition, then I would suggest you that you can go for French or Spanish. Ma'am, I'm about to start Masters of Public Health. Okay, so which language should I go for? Of course, now public health is again now, as I told you, languages like Russian, where you have a lot of people who are coming for the treatments out in India. So definitely this can be a good opportunity for you. Okay, then I have STEM technology, of course. In scientific fields, the technical field, I will tell you, the IT fields and the scientific fields, of course, Japan and Korea are doing very, very well. So if you do these languages, you have a lot of opportunities to do your higher studies from these countries. So if you're aiming towards this side, I would suggest that you can think of Asian languages. You can just see more about what are the courses which are there in Japan and Korea. I know much about Korea because I've dealt with that country quite in detail. So like for stem cell technology, and countries are expert into this technology. So of course you have a lot of chances to go and do your further research, further work into this particular stream.